So I got a quick question for you guys, and we're recording now. Usually it'll count down. You'll get like this 1, 2, 3 thing. So trigonometry is the study of right triangles, and there's some pretty cool properties that we'll talk about. So remember, whatever I write down, you write down. So what does this little square, this perfectly drawn square mean? Yeah, it's a right angle. So we'll say that this is equal to 90 degrees, and it's a right angle, right? Okay. But there's another thing too about right angle triangles. Now I'm going to write some things down. First and foremost, what I want you to know is that the angle or the side or leg, there's a couple different terms that they use, but this side here across from the 90-degree angle is always going to be represented by the letter C. And then now A and B don't matter. So I can call this A, whoops, and I can call this B. C is important though. That has a special name. Do you guys know what that is called? Hypotenuse. Very good. And it's funny, it's spelled just how you say it. Hypotenuse or use. Okay. Now the hypotenuse is the longest side on a right triangle. Okay. What else do we know about A, B, and C? Well, I'm going to start it, and as soon as I start it, you guys will probably know it, recognize it, and finish it. If I say A squared plus, how do I finish this? B squared equals C squared. That's the Pythagorean theorem, right? Now, we use this a lot in trigonometry. We just don't explain it. Like, usually what happens, I'll explain how the trigonometry works. It's based on this. Right? See that image I wrote on the board? When I drop that line down, it's a right triangle. We know that the length is x, and the other one is y, and then the hypotenuse is the radius of the circle. And we'll talk about that later. But we use this information to represent the sides of the triangle in trigonometry. So let's do an example real quick. If I have a house, and this is example 3, by the way. If I have a house, it's really difficult to draw on this tablet sometimes. Mainly because I haven't calibrated it yet. And I say to you that the height of the house right here is 8 feet. Okay. And then I have a ladder, and that ladder goes to my roof and extends out this way. And it's 10 feet. How far is the distance from the ladder on the ground to the house? So I'm just curious, how would you guys solve that? Well, what you'd have to think about is that isn't this a right triangle? Yeah. What? Go ahead.
It can be a triple, Pythagorean triple. So
you're getting ahead of me a little bit. Yeah, that's good that you memorized that it's a Pythagorean triple, right? But what? Let's back up. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Good. All of you guys are saying the right thing. I don't know what this is. Whenever we have something that we don't know, what do we do? I don't know what this length is in red. What do I call that? It's a number. How do I represent the number? It's unknown. How do I heard it? X, right? Whenever there's a value that we don't know, we can plug in an X for it. So now I got to think about this. A and B don't really matter. I need to know which one is C. Which one is the hypotenuse in this triangle? The 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say x squared, right? And I'm going to leave that red for a second, plus, which one would be B? 8, right? 8 squared is equal to 10 squared. In other words, I'm saying let's let x equal A, let's let A equal B, and 10 is going to equal my C, because C is the hypotenuse, which is across from the 90-degree angle. And so we'll do some math. We'll say x squared plus, what's 8 squared? Yeah, 64. And then what's 10 squared? 100. So now we got to do a little bit of math. How do I get x by itself? Yeah. So you guys said minus 64, but for those of you that were like, the algebra part, I don't quite remember. What is the 64 doing to the x in this line as you see it? It's adding, right? It's x squared plus 64. Is that right? What's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. Now in math, we use a little bit more formal term, and we'll say, what's the inverse of adding? Subtracting. So the inverse of adding is subtracting. And remember, whatever I do on one side, I have to do to the other side. Boom, boom. I get x squared, right? What's 64 minus 64? 0. What's 0 plus x squared? X squared. What's 64? I'm sorry, what's 100 minus 64? 36. So what's, and then I take the square root of both sides. What's the square root of 36? 6. Technically, it's plus or minus 6. But we'll focus on what we call the principal root. Always positive. Negative 6 doesn't work, right? I mean, it does kind of, but not really. Okay. Are there any questions on that? Thumbs up if that kind of made sense to you guys. Thumbs down if you're lost. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop this video.